Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بيده إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Hopefully tonight we can finish the chapter. We've reached the 6th chapter in which the author rahimahullah, he says Babun fi takrir al-hadith. And before we get started, we'll take a brief review of the facts and the pieces of information that we mentioned last night. So who wants to start us off with what we took last night? Who would like to start us off with the information we mentioned last night? Samir, tafadal.
Impermissibility of speaking about the book of Allah.
We spoke about the impermissibility of speaking and talking about the Quran without proper knowledge. And we said that that is a ruling, and that's also an etiquette of the seeker of knowledge, of a knowledge seeker. Khairan, inshallah. What else did we speak about last night? Muhammad. The impermissibility and the grave danger of lying on the Prophet ﷺ. And that only means intentional, right? No? Even if it's a mistake, it's still what? Severely dangerous. Right? What else did we talk about last night, Shu'aib? Khair, inshallah. Where's Ishaq? Where's Khalil? Where's the brother that was here the first 2 nights? Tayyip. Alaikum salam. Fadl ya akhi. What's your name?
Nasir.
Nasir. Go ahead, Nasir.
First, the permissibility of writing down hadith of the Prophet.
Permissibility of writing down hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Ascent. Very good. What else did we mention? We just asked him about Khalil. What else did we mention? Come closer up, Ashton. Come close. Too far. What else did we mention? Anything else? Ikhwan, Tafadhal Muhammad.
Repeating words.
Repeating the hadith. Khairan, inshallah. How many times did the Prophet used to repeat his words? 3. Why? To bore the people, to sound fancy. What was the purpose? To allow full comprehension. Everyone doesn't pick up like that. Khairan, inshallah. Very important concept. And this goes to show you the contrast nature of English and Arabic and of Islam and other than Islam. Because in English, it's a run-on sentence. It's repetitive. Everyone understand this? It's not like that in Arabic. Total different nature between the 2 languages, and also between the 2 religions, Islam and Christianity, and also between the 2 cultures, the East and the West. Just like when you go to school, when you go to college, overseas, whether you're studying in Africa or the Middle East or the Far East, a good part of your studies, not all of your studies, but a good part is memory. Memorizing pieces of information. And this is why Western scholars and Western students, they find it so far-fetched that a student has memorized an entire book or books. But overseas, that's simple and that's normal. It's different culture, different environment, different climate. Whereas the Western academia is based off of what? Writing, comprehension, things like this. I'm not saying that there's no writing nor comprehension overseas, but the nature is what? It's different. So the Prophet, the way he spoke, he would repeat it for people to comprehend. Some cultures, some places you go, if you say the same sentence twice, they say it's a run-on sentence. Or you have filler. You don't have what? It's a lyrical content. But it's not like that, no. It's a reason why I want you to get the point. Everybody understand this? We spoke about that last night. Khair, inshallah. What else did we talk about last night? Before we get started with tonight's lesson. Fadl Khalil.
Speaking too much.
Speaking too much. Excessive speech. And that leads to falling into line upon the Prophet ﷺ. And there's a balance in that as well. And that is because there were some Sahaba who refused to give too many narrations because they were afraid. But that didn't prevent the other Sahaba from passing on the Sunnah and spreading the Sunnah. Everybody understand this? As some people complained about Abu Hurairah. Why does he narrate so many hadiths? Why is he giving so much? And the Kibar Sahaba are silent. The Kibar Sahaba aren't passing on the narrations that he's passing on. And that is because Abu Hurairah and those other companions, he's not by himself, there are many others, they felt, first and foremost, that it was mandatory to spread knowledge. And secondly, someone has to do it. And everyone doesn't have to share that same high level of piety. And the knowledge has to be given to the next generation. And also, they felt that they trusted themselves and they were accurate and strong in their memory. Bismillah. So it's a balance. And this is very, very important to understand this. One man's piety is not to dominate the next man's confidence. Everybody understand this? There's a balance. There's a what? There has to be a balance in the deen. So somebody, he may feel, I'll give you one example of this. A person, he may feel what? I don't want to speak about this issue. It's too dangerous. It's too controversial. Or there are people who know more than me that refrain from saying something. That's fine. But that doesn't mean that you can blame the man who's willing to talk about it. Because someone has to do it. And if everybody is, halas, I'm so pious, I don't want to talk, I don't want to say nothing, no one will learn. And no information will be spread. So there's a what? There's a balance, and there's also diversity of personality. Is what? Diversity of personalities. Khair, inshallah. What else did we say before we move on? Fadl Khalil, where's Nafis? Abu Naila. Who has their book with them? Who has the English translation tonight? Who has the English translation? Hamid. You have it. Who else has the English translation? Where's Mujib at? He's coming. He's late. Right. Anybody else? Fadl Khalil.
We also spoke about saying Allahu Alam.
About saying Allahu Alam and also saying La Adri. Because there's a difference. If you ask me a question, I may say Allah knows best. That doesn't mean that I don't know. Or I may refrain from giving the answer. And that also doesn't mean that what? I don't know. But when I say La Adri, that means what? I don't know. There's a difference. Khair, inshallah. So we reached the 7th chapter. Chapter number 7. Imam Abu Dawud, rahimahullah, he says, باب في سبد الحديث. حدثنا محمد بن منصور الطوسي قال حدثنا سفيان بن عيينة عن الزهري عن عروة قال جلس أبو هريرة إلى جنب حجرة عائشة رضي الله عنها وهي تصلي فجعل يقول اسمعي يا ربة الحجرة مرتين قال فلما قضت صلاتها قالت ألا تعجب إلى هذا وحديثه إن كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يحدث الحديث لو شاء العاد أن يحصيه أحصاه. حدثنا سليمان بن داود مهري قال أخبرني ابن وهب قال أخبرني يونس عن ابن شهاب أن عروة بن الزبير حدث أن عائشة زوج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قالت ألا يعجبك أبو هريرة جاء فجلس إلى جانب حجرتي يحدث عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يسمعني ذلك وكنت أسبح فقام قبل أن أقضي صلحتي ولو أدركته لرددته عليه إن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يكن يسرد الحديث سردكم. Further with the translation, please, unless someone else wants to read it in Arabic as well. So far, it's been a little disappointing, I must be honest. I've been a little disappointed at Abu Hurairah Center that no one was willing to read it in Arabic and to participate in the qira'ah of the Prophet ﷺ's beautiful hadiths. To be honest, I've been a little disappointed in that. And most masjids that we go to, our own masjid in New York City, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and many other places, we have brothers and sisters who are willing to read the Arabic and to practice their reading and to participate. Now I'm positive that there are many brothers in the crowd and many sisters in the crowd who know Arabic better than me. Not saying that I even know Arabic, but I know people that know much, much more than me in Arabic. I'm sure there are. Perhaps some of them are shy. Perhaps some of them feel it's improper. Perhaps some of them don't want to participate, or whatever the reason is. I'm sure that it isn't a lack of knowledge. It isn't a lack of ability. But for one reason or another, no one has been willing to read these hadiths and me just reading them. Well, I have been a little disappointed in that, to be honest. I'm not going to hide that from you. And I don't think that's good. Rather, I think that's a shame. We should be willing to read the Prophet's hadith. And when a hadith is read by one person, by the student, by the teacher, this brother, that sister, khair ala khair, nur ala nur. And it is more and more and more barakah, and more times that you say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we all know that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Man salla alayhi salatan sallallahu alayhi biha ashra." He says, he who says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam once, Allah will send salutations, praise and blessing upon him tenfold. Another narration states, "Inna awla an-nasi bi yawm al-qiyamati aktharuhum alayhi salah." He says, those people who will be closest to me on the day of judgment are the ones who send the most prayers on me. The ones who are the closest to me on the day of judgment are those who say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam more and more and more. This hadith has been narrated by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and also Abdullah ibn Umar and the Musnad Imam Ahmad and other places. And inshallah, as Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah said, hadith Hasan bi-idhnillah is from the greatest virtues of Ahlul Hadith. Is that the ulama of hadith and the tulab of hadith, they are those, inshallah, who will be the closest to the Prophet on the day of judgment, because they send the most prayers upon him. And as I said before once, and I'll give you a brief benefit, story. When we finished, I believe it was the Sunan of Ibn Majah, with our Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Abad, Hafidullah, in the Prophet city, they asked the Sheikh several questions at the end of the majlis. And it took a couple years to finish the book. Some of them said, "Yeah, Sheikh, will you give us an ijazah?" Some of them said, "Yeah, Sheikh, what book are you going to teach next?" Some of them said this, some of them said that. Some of them gave suggestions, let's study this, let's study that. And one of the students, he asked the Sheikh, he said, "Oh Sheikh, how many times do you think you said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the study of this book?" And the Sheikh, he remained silent. He didn't say nothing for a couple of minutes, as if he was just thinking and pondering, like, wow. Just think about that. Thousands of hadith. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Fadl Azim. And there's some fields of study, such as fiqh, or usul al-fiqh, or many other things, in which 3 to 4 pages are turned without sallallahu alayhi wa sallam once. And an hour lecture could be given, and sallallahu alayhi wa sallam isn't mentioned once. That is literally impossible in the sciences of hadith. Impossible. No matter what field of hadith you're studying, fiqh of hadith, ilm al-rijal, tafsir of the hadith, gharib al-hadith, etc., you're going to say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam at least once in a paragraph, let alone a page, let alone a chapter, let alone a book. So that there is no doubt, as the poet said, hum ahlun nabi, they are the true family members of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the true people of him. وَإِن لَمْ يَصْحَبُوا نَفْسَهُ, even if they don't live with himself. And he says, أَنْفَاسَهُ صَحِبُ, he says they live with his what? His anfas, his breath. In other words, when the Prophet drank, Ahl Hadith, they read about it and they study it. When the Prophet slept, they read about it and they study it. When the Prophet ate and everything else that he did, Ahl Hadith, they're the ones who study his life in detail. And they're the ones who send the most prayers upon Muhammad ﷺ more than any other group. Everybody understand this? So it's very important, brothers and sisters, for us to be happy and for us to be willing to نشارك في قراءة الحديث, to read these hadiths with the Prophet ﷺ, regardless of me, regardless of Abu Dawud, regardless of the topic, just the sheer fact I want to read the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Everybody understand this? Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Khairan inshallah. Let's go to the English, please. Who would like to read the translation for us tonight? Muhammad, tfaddal.
Or was said, Abu Hurairah sat beside the apartment of Aisha while she was praying. He then began to say, "Listen, O lady of the apartment," saying it twice in quick succession. When she finished her prayer, she said, "Are you not surprised at him and the way he narrates traditions from the Apostle of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? When the Apostle of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave a talk, a man could count his words if he wished to count."
Jai, next hadith, please.
Narrated Aisha, Are you not surprised that Abu Huraira came and sat beside my apartment and began to narrate traditions from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, making me hear them? I was saying subrogatory prayers. He got up and went away before I finished my prayer. Had I found him, I would have replied to him. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not narrate traditions quickly, one after another, as you narrate quickly.
Khair, inshallah. In the English translation here, hadith number or chapter number 7, hadith number 3654. It says here, Babun fi sard al-hadith. The chapter of what? What does it say in English again? Compare what I have with what you have.
Speaking quickly.
Speaking quickly. In other words, Abu Dawud rahimahullah, his intention is to show you that it isn't necessarily a good thing to speak too quickly and to narrate hadiths too quickly. Rather, the muhaddith, he should speak in clear, concise, or clear, simple words that everyone can understand. He shouldn't talk too fast. He shouldn't talk too slow, but a pace that everyone can do what? Can understand and stay with. Of course, this is relative and it's subjective from person to person, place to place, especially if you have a majlis that's specific to tulab al-ilm, that are advanced. That's not the majlis of someone who's what? A beginner, or someone who's even intermediate. There's a difference. And also, it depends on the person. But the general concept is that the speech should not be too what? Too fast. Why not? Why not? Fadl Khalil.
So you won't be misunderstood.
So he won't be misunderstood. What else? Fadl ya akhi. So they have time to comprehend it. Right? Anybody else? Why not? Fadl.
Help memorize.
To allow them to memorize. Right? Anybody else? Fadl. To imitate and emulate the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. طيب. جواب طيب. خير. Very good. Anybody else? طيب. Hadith or chapter number 7. It gives us another what? Another ruling or etiquette. Which of the two? Etiquette. من آداب طلب الحديث تعلمه وتعليمه is not to speak too quickly. The narration states that Urwa said, Abu Hurairah sat beside the chamber of Aisha radiallahu anha, the apartment of Aisha radiallahu anha. He then says, فَجَعَلَ يَقُولُ. What does it say in English again? Read the translation point by point. He then began to say, Listen, O lady of the apartment, speaking to Aisha radiallahu anha. Saying it twice. And quick succession. Then Aisha radiallahu anha, she said what? When she finished her prayer, she then said,
Are you not surprised at him and the way he narrates?
In other words, Aisha, she criticized Abu Hurairah. And she criticized him because he did what? He spoke in something that was too quick, too fast. And she then backed up her criticism by saying that the Prophet, whenever he spoke, if someone wanted to keep up with him word for word, point by point, hadith by hadith, the person will be able to do what? He says, sahu, that we would have the ability to do what? To memorize it. So, regardless whether Aisha radiallahu anha was right or wrong, correct or incorrect, it proves that from the closest people to the Prophet ﷺ, and those who spent a great deal with him and had an intimate relationship with him and studied and taught by the Prophet ﷺ, said that he didn't talk in that manner. And he didn't what? Speak in that manner. Not to go too far off the topic, we know that Aisha radiallahu anha was a woman. When she saw something that she didn't agree with, or something that didn't make sense to her, or something that she felt was incorrect, in most cases, she would speak her mind. And she would say what she felt and what she thought, regardless whether she was right or whether she was wrong. And there were many of the Sahaba radiallahu anha that she clashed with. And she condemned actions and statements and interpretations. And we benefit from this first and foremost is that seeking knowledge and giving dawah and teaching is not exclusive just to men. It's not to one gender, but anyone who's qualified, who has the proper knowledge, can teach knowledge and can learn knowledge. And it's very sad, you go to some places and you find knowledge totally dominated and monopolized by one gender. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't what? It shouldn't be like that. Another benefit that we take is that the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ sometimes is unknown to some of the Sahaba. Or sometimes some Sahaba, they may have more details than others. Whereas perhaps Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu knew something Aisha didn't. Because we know that Abu Hurairah was one of the foremost pupils of the Prophet ﷺ. And he stood in his company day and night from the time he made hijrah until the Prophet ﷺ's death. So perhaps it was something that he knew, something he felt, something he was taught by the Prophet that Aisha didn't know about. And the exact opposite. Everybody understands? And then what? And the exact opposite. And the same applies to hadith number 3655. And it also shows that whenever the sunnah is opposed and someone does something that's against the sunnah or against that which is established, there is inkar. There's what? Inkar. There's advice, there's criticism, and there's repudiation. Billati hiya ahsan, in the best manner. Whether the best manner is harsh or whether it's soft, depending on the time, depending on the place, and depending on the person. Everybody clear on this? Khairan inshaAllah. So let's move on. We don't want to get stuck too deep into that chapter because we have to finish tonight. Bi-idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next chapter, Imam Abi Dawud rahimahullah, he says, باب التوقي في الفتيا. حدثنا إبراهيم بن موسى الرازي قال أخبرنا عيسى عن الأوزاعي عن عبد الله بن سعد عن الصنابحي عن معاوية أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عن الغلوطات. حدثنا الحسن بن علي قال حدثنا أبو عبد الرحمن المقري قال حدثنا سعيد يعني بن أبي أيوب عن بكر بن عمرو عن مسلم بن يسار أبي عثمان عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أفتي. وحدثنا سليمان بن داود قال أخبرنا ابن وهب قال حدثني يحيى بن أيوب عن بكر بن عمرو عن ابن أبي نعيمة عن أبي عثمان التنبذي رضيع عبد الملك بن مروان قال سمعت أبا هريرة يقول قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أفتي بغير علم كان إثمه على من أفتاه. زاد سليمان المهري في حديثه ومن أشار على أخيه بأمر يعلم أن الرشد في غيره فقد خانه. وهذا لفظ سليمان. Next chapter in English, please. Fadl Muhammad. Precaution in issuing a fatwa. The next chapter, Abu Dawud rahimahullah says, precaution in issuing a fatwa. Naam. Fadl.
Narrated Muawiyah, the Holy Prophet
Narrated Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Holy Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said, or
forbade the discussion of thorny questions.
Forbade the discussion of what?
Thorny questions.
Thorny questions. Right. Continue.
Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if anyone is given a legal decision ignorantly, the sin rests on the one who gave it. Suleiman al-Mahri added in his version, if anyone advises his brother, knowing that guidance lies in another direction, he has deceived him. These are the wordings of Suleiman.
Right. This chapter, brothers and sisters, Imam Abu Dawud rahimahullah, he says, Babu tawaqi fil futya. Yani, the obligation and the importance of taking precaution in giving a fatwa. And this gives us another ruling and another adab As if Abu Dawud rahimahullah is saying, after I've taught you about the virtue of knowledge, about writing down knowledge, about reporting hadiths, you're now responsible to do what? Pass on that knowledge and to give ilm to others, to give a fatwa now. And the word fatwa, and the meaning of the concept of the fatwa, is something that many people misunderstand. What is meant by fatwa? Is a fatwa an independent ruling that you give? Or is it you telling someone of the ruling of Allah and His Rasul? Or is it you just mentioning the dalil? Do you have to be a great scholar to give a fatwa? Can a student of knowledge give a fatwa? Etc. There's waves of confusion with regards to the fatwa and the dawabit of fatawa. Giving, seeking, and requesting is chaos. People who are not qualified to give fatwa give fatwa. People who are qualified to give fatwa refuse from giving fatwa. People don't ask questions in the proper manner, with the proper etiquette. And the list goes on. And those are things that can't be discussed in this sitting. What is important is that the seeker of knowledge has to be precautious. And precaution has, as we said before, many forms. Whether it is refraining from it at whole, giving fatwa in a specific time, a specific place, avoiding answering specific people, and the list goes on. Everybody understand this on the list what? And the list goes on. Khairan inshaAllah. That's a very, very, very long argument with regards to fatwa. And let's say, for example, the 4 traditional schools of thought. Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, and many of the points of criticism that were hurled against him in Kufa because of the fatwa that he gave. And Imam Malik rahimahullah, as we mentioned today after Salat al-Fajr, and the fatwa that he refused to give and refused to speak on. We have different positions. Ahl al-Hadith and Ahl al-Ra'i. Who are Ahl al-Ra'i, who are Ahl al-Hadith. Those who give fatwa, those who refuse, etc. It's a very, very, very long discussion. That's a lecture in itself. The etiquettes of giving a fatwa, the etiquettes of asking a fatwa. Who should you ask, who you shouldn't ask. What should you ask regarding, what shouldn't you ask regarding, and then this goes on. So what is important is that he wants to tell you about being precautious, be wary, be careful. And he says that the Prophet ﷺ naha anil ghalutat. And this word ghalutat has several different interpretations. It says in the English translation, thorny questions. We say, to keep things simple, anything which is polemic and problematic and very dangerous and scary. Something, or we say something that's totally hypothetical. Very, very, very extreme case. That will, when does something like this ever happen and take place? And if it does happen, if it does take place, what's the benefit of me knowing it? All of these things fall under the general meaning of ghalutat. Or it's an issue that is one that causes the alim harm if he answers. Cause him to get locked up or physically abused. And the list goes on. Slandered and his character attacked and defamed and things like this. Anything which is quote unquote thorny or highly controversial or problematic or extremely hypothetical, it is not practical, there's no plausibility whatsoever, fall under the general meaning of ghalutat. Things which cause a person to yaghlat, to make a mistake and to slip and to fall on his or her face. The Prophet ﷺ, he forbade these things. Everybody understand this? You have to understand, as we said before about the 4 schools, there are some of the schools of thought who took the view that we must ask hypothetical questions in the time in which these big ulama are alive. And if we don't ask, when they do happen and they do take place, we won't know what to do. And other ulama, they took the view we should avoid hypothetical questions and they should only be put forth when they happen and when they take place. Some people go far to the right, others went far to the left. And there were some who remained in the middle course. And also the concept of ra'i, one's opinion, one's individual reasoning. Is it haram in the deen to think, to make qiyas? Or do you only stick to what the hadith says? There are people on both sides of the extreme, and there are those who remain in the middle. From the best of the ulama who spoke on this issue is Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah in the 13th volume of Fathul Bari and several of the chapters of Imam al-Bukhari. He spoke on this issue in detail. and that we have narrations of the pious predecessors avoiding fatwa. We have narrations in which they gave fatwa. We have narrations in which they avoided and they condemned the ra'i. And we have narrations in which they actually made qiyas and made istinbat. And the list goes on. Hadith number 3648 is not the most authentic narration, but bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala is supported by some general text. Hadith number 3649, it says that Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated, those who are given a fatwa without knowledge, then the sin is upon those or the one who gave the fatwa. We say this hadith proves, first and foremost, the impermissibility of giving a fatwa without knowledge. Number two, the sin is upon the mufti and not the mustafti. Number three, the permissibility of seeking a fatwa. But we say, in brief, is that this hadith is not absolute. And there are sometimes some instances and cases in which you seek a fatwa from someone. And if it's a bad fatwa or an inaccurate fatwa, it is also your fault as well. Because you asked someone who wasn't qualified. And if it was about your heart or your automobile or any other worldly material thing, you would go to an expert. You would go to someone who's certified, someone who was qualified. You would travel from one city to the next to find the best surgeon. There's no doubt about this. When it comes to the deen, anybody with a beard and a robe is a sheikh, so let me ask him. This is a reality among many Muslims today, unfortunately. Anybody who looks like this, he's a scholar, so let me ask him. Anyone who's overseas, he's a scholar, so let me ask him. Anyone who gives a talk and a lecture, and that's unfortunate and that's sad. And it's considered to be utmost disrespect to the religion. Utmost disrespect. You have brothers who have all types of professions in the worldly life, and you wouldn't dare to talk about his profession. He would shut you down. He wouldn't allow you to disrespect his field of expertise. I'm a physician, okay? Well, I think you should do it like this, and your surgery, he wouldn't allow you to. Have you been to school? Where do you work? How are you, etc.? He wouldn't allow you. But when it comes to the deen, it's very simple and very easy to say, no, brother, it's not like this, it's like that, and it's like this. Without no ilm. And people that take these people as their leaders, unfortunately, and this is a prophecy. The Prophet told us this is what happened. That there are people at a time in which men will take the ignoramuses as their leaders. And they will ask them the fatwa, they will go astray and will mislead others. So therefore, if you ask someone that you really honestly don't trust, you really honestly don't respect, you really know that he isn't qualified, you're at fault as well. And you're to be blamed as well. Everybody understand this? But if you ask an alim who you thought was trustworthy, who you thought was learned, or maybe he actually was, but he made a mistake, or he wasn't given the tawfiq, Allah didn't bless him in that fatwa, then we say, then the hadith applies. There's no sin upon you. You did your job. In brief,